So in today's session, we're going to talk about, especially about Hanumanji. Last time we had a brief discussion on Ramayana, the significance of itihasas, and what is so special about Ramayana and what relevance it has in the modern context. We also saw how when we are studying itihasas, it's good to appreciate the historicity, the storyline, but also there are some important lessons as seekers that we need to imbibe in our life. So along that same lines, today we're going to see a very special episode that happens in Ramayana, where the central figure here is Hanumanji. Now, Hanumanji is a very, very interesting character across the broad Vedic fold. He is perhaps the most non-controversial personality, if you may see, because historically, if you see, there have been, a lot of difference of opinions, even conflicts among people, especially like, for example, if you go to many places in South India or in Orissa, you will see big, big, grand temples of Vishnu, and right next to them, grand temples of Shiva, because at one point, a lot of the Vedic practitioners were split among the Vishnu followers and the Shiva followers, the Vaishnavism and Shaivism. They had their own difference of opinion. So every time a king who would be patronizing the Vaishnavism, they would bring big grand temples for Lord Vishnu. And then when the Shaivite king would come, they would build right next to that another big grand temple of Lord Shiva, right? Especially in Jagannath Puri, if you go, they're literally right next to each other. So, and this went on, this craziness went on for a very long time, right? So like that, you'll see the difference of opinion. But irrespective of which Vedic tradition you are from, you are a Shaiva, Vaishnava, you are a Shakta, you are a Tantra practitioner, whatever practitioner you may be, one personality whom everybody loves and accepts is Hanumanji. Because Hanumanji, owing to his humble nature, nobody has any issues with him. So the Shaivites love him because actually Hanumanji is an expansion of Lord Shiva. The Vaishnavas love him because he is the greatest devotee of Lord Ram, of Lord Vishnu, right? And in the Tantra worship also, Hanumanji is considered very, very potent form of energy, a potent energetic being. So that way, everybody loves Hanumanji. So if you remember last time we discussed how when Lord Vishnu was about to descend as his pastime as Lord Ram, he instructed all the devatas to also come onto planet Earth and to take birth among the different species, among the animals, among the monkeys, among the bears, among a whole range of species. So taking that cue, the different devatas, they invested their potency in different forms of species. So it is said that Hanumanji, at one level, he is an expansion of Vayu, but also he has this potency of Lord Shiva in him. In fact, while all the devatas were descending, Lord Shiva was thinking, oh, even I want to participate in Leelas of Lord Ram, right? So what does he do? So he manifests, he expands his potency as Hanumanji. So the pastime goes that how Hanumanji, his parents, Kesari and Anjana. So this one day, Anjana, she had this mystic power where she could transform into any form. She could sometimes be as a Vanara or sometimes be as a human being. And as Anjana was wandering around, she was approached by Vayu. Now, from an external level, it may look like an ordinary mundane affair, but Vayu understood that, oh, I now had to send a special expansion of mine to assist Lord Ram in this pastimes. So he blesses Anjana Devi that she will be invested by his potency. And that's how she was blessed with Hanuman. And Hanuman, because if you see wind is the most powerful thing in this world. The whole universe cannot survive without wind. So Vayu is considered a very, very powerful entity. And so because Hanuman had the potency of Vayu, he was literally unstoppable. Even as a young child, it is said that one day Mother Anjana left him at home and she went out for some work, and Hanumanji became hungry. So he was looking around the house, there's no food around, and he saw in the sky, there was one big orange fruit in the sky. So he thought, let me go and eat that fruit. So it turns out that fruit was sun. So he immediately jumped towards the sun, and somehow sun pushed him down. But Hanuman, he was so powerful. As a baby, he did not know his own powers. He literally pounced on the sun, trying to swallow the sun. And if sun is swallowed, the whole world will go into darkness. And seeing this, Indra immediately releases his thunderbolt weapon Vajra, and that hits that little baby on his chin, on his Hanu, and there's a little dent in his chin. That's how his name became Hanuman. And as soon as he falls, of course, it only immobilized him for some time. But seeing that Indra attacked his expansion, his potency, almost like his child, Vayu became very, very upset. And he immediately withdrew all the air, and the whole planet started suffocating. So all the devatas went and said, don't worry, please resume your operations. We will bless Hanuman with extraordinary powers. So Indra blesses him that, okay, no weapon will ever destroy you. Yamaraj says him that even death will never touch you. Brahmaji says the most powerful weapon, Brahmastra, will be useless in front of you. All the devatas, they come and bless this child with so many extraordinary yogic siddhis, that this little boy, right, he became so powerful. But power may be there, but still, young children, they are restless. So Hanuman started not with a malicious intention, but with a playful intention. He started misusing his powers, because Hanuman, owing to sattvic nature, he loved sadhus. He loved all the rishis, the thinkers, the munis, the ascetics who were living in the forest. But because of his restless nature, he did not know how to approach them. So he used to approach them by pulling pranks. So when the sadhus, then they used to go to take bath in the river, he used to go steal all their clothes away. Or sometimes he used to jump in the water, swim underground, and pull their legs while they're in the water and drown them, right? Or sometimes, this one time, one very powerful sage, back then, traditionally, toilets would not be inside the house, because toilet is it's an impure part of the house. It's a very tamasic space. So people would have their washrooms outside. So this one day, a sage, as soon as he woke up in the morning, he wanted to attend the nature's call. So he came out. He was living in a tiny little hut in a forest. As soon as he opened his door, he saw a big lion waiting for him outside. He immediately closed the door. But then, the urge to respond to nature's call was so strong. Then he tried going from the backside of his house. On the backside, he saw there was a big mad elephant. And now this guy is stuck. And now, however advanced yogi you are, when nature calls, you have to respond. You can't do anything much, right? And then he was getting desperate, what to do. And just as he was in the desperation, from his window, he sees little Hanuman laughing and rolling over. And then he understands, oh, this boy put these two animals outside my hut, right? And then he curses Hanuman that until some advanced soul reminds you of your powers, you will not, have access to these powers. Again, not with a malicious intent, but rather he was trying to protect Hanuman, that look, Hanuman, you are so powerful, your services will be needed in the future. If you, out of your childish restlessness, offend more devotees, offend more sadhus, then you'll be doing great disservice. You will end up committing some greater offense. So better I protect you by forgetfulness. This is such a powerful lesson, actually. The Vaishnavacharyas, they explain that sometimes when great souls curse, it is also a kind of a blessing. Because a pure devotee, these advanced souls, they don't have any envious intention within their heart. Even their chastisement, even their cursing is also another form of blessing. It is just that we will realize that they were blessings only when you reflect back in nostalgia. At that moment, you will see, oh, why am I being punished? But actually, the advanced souls, they never have any negative intent. So this Hanuman eventually he got personally trained by Surya. He became extraordinarily powerful, and while Vayu's expansion was Hanuman, Indra's expansion, was Sugriva. Sorry, Surya's expansion was Sugriva, and Indra's expansion was Vali, and they all eventually were born on in this whole region called as Kishinda Kshetra, which is modern day Hampi. If you know that place today, very very famous place, very become a tourist hub also today in India. So in this place, all these personalities were born, and Surya, after giving all the training to Hanuman, he requests him, now you are the greatest scholar of the Vedic science. Kindly become the minister under my expansion Sugriva, and kindly protect him. Become, because a king is only as powerful as his councils are, as his advisors and ministers are. So if you, as a token of all the teachings that I gave you, as Guru Dakshina, please kindly oblige to this request. So then Hanuman, technically he was more empowered, more powerful, spiritually advanced, and a top class devotee compared to Sugriva. But because his Guru requested him, Hanumanji took to that humble position as a minister in the council of Sugriva's kingdom, and that is how protecting Sugriva and giving him timely counsel. Time and again, there are many incidents in Ramayana where Hanuman intervened and protected Sugriva. So like this, and then long story short, Lord Ram, he meets Sugriva and all the Vanaras, and then they understand that Sita has been kidnapped. So after a long time, Sugriva sends, because he was kind of confident that Sita was kidnapped in the southern direction. So though he sent search parties in all 4 directions, in the south he sends the strongest team comprising of Hanuman, Jambavan, Angad. So many powerful Vanaras were there. So then when all of them came together, as they traveled to the southern part, they came almost to the tip of the Indian peninsula. That place today is known as Rameshwaram. So at that point, literally now you can just see the ocean. Literally at that point, you are completely surrounded by ocean in all 3 directions. It's a peninsula there. And now they were stuck there. And now they were thinking, oh, how do we cross this ocean, right? Because they were guided at one point by a very celestial bird named Sampati, who says, actually Sita is there in Lanka. I have seen Ravan take Sita towards there. And because he was a vulture, a mystical vulture, he could see very, very far off distances. Even though he was extremely old and could not fly much, his power of sight was very strong. And from where he was sitting, he could see that, oh, Sita Devi is there in Lanka. So then all these Vanaras, they decided, okay, how do we go across? Because it's a big, gigantic ocean. So, and mind you, these are not ordinary, sometimes in translations, you see the word monkey, 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 but they are not exactly monkeys. Vanaras are a totally different kind of species. You can call them as some kind of a humanoid species. Certain modern scholars have some interesting theories also about Vanaras. They say Vanaras are a clan whose attire has dressing like apes. They are human beings, but like traditional, these tribal clans, they have different war gear. So their war attire looked like monkeys. Some had attires like bears. So some modern scholars also give that kind of interpretation. But irrespective of that, they definitely had some mystical powers that they could literally jump across to a very, very long distances. So these Vanaras, they were talking among themselves that, how far can you jump? So some monkeys said, oh, I can jump around 80 miles. Some said I could jump around, 160 miles. Other was saying, oh, maybe 240 miles. And finally, one Vanara named Mainada, he says, oh, I can I can jump almost around 500 miles. Then Vivida, another Vanara, he says, no, I can jump over 600 miles. Then Sushena, another Vanara, he says, no, I can jump around 650 miles. And finally, everybody was going back and forth. And then Jambavan, the senior most person in that group, he says, when I was young, I had the capacity to jump very far off distances. In fact, it is said that when Jambavan was young and when Lord Vamana had appeared, and when Lord Vamana had expanded into this big gigantic form and covered the entire planet Earth with his 1 foot, it is said that Jambavan circumambulated the entire planet and Lord Vamana's foot in such a fast pace. So that is the capacity that he had. But he says, now I'm old and invalid, right? What I can only give, guide you through intelligence, but physically I'm incapable, right? And this is how beautifully, you see, you must be wondering why Sugriva sent somebody like Jambavan, such an old person, cannot do much, right? You will know the wisdom of Sugriva a little later on in this pastime. So then Angad, who was the prince of, of the Kishkinda Kshetra, so then he says, I have the capacity to jump because the distance was around 800 miles. I have the capacity to jump, but I'm not sure if I will be able to come back, right? So I don't know if I have the capacity the strength to come back. So actually Acharyas described that what does it mean if somebody can go one direction, they can take some rest and come back, right? What did he mean by that? Because Angad, being the son of Vali, so Vali was the brother of Sugriva, and they had some difference of opinion. And Vali was, even though he was the brother of Sugriva, he had little materialistic tendencies. And those tendencies from the father got also passed on to his son Angad. And Angad had little doubt that if I go and see the entire opulence of Lanka, what if I get tempted to stay back there? Right? And this is very nice quality in Angad, that honesty was there to admit that I may get tempted in this mission. Perhaps I am not the right person for this mission. Can you imagine what kind of beautiful quality as the leader of that group he was demonstrating, that sometimes as a leader, a person can not be able to openly admit their shortcomings, their mistakes, their limitations, their temptations, right? And by default, a leader always has to be the person in the front and leading the whole, taking the glory. And realizing this, Jambavan says, don't worry, Angad, you are also the prince. We can't afford you to lose you in case you get stuck there. I know you can jump 100 yojanas, but it's important for you to stay back with us. And then Jambavan says, there is one person among us who has not spoken. Let's go and talk to him. And while all this discussion was going on, Hanumanji was peacefully sitting there in front of the ocean, waiting. Okay, let them take a decision, right? Then Jambavan goes and talks to him. So Hanuman, how are you? So he starts his, his counseling session starts, one-to-one counseling, right? So Jambavan reminds him, don't you remember your childhood, Hanuman? Right? What kind of extraordinary powers you are born with? And then he narrates the entire childhood episodes, what we discussed earlier. And then because an advanced devotee like Jambavan reminded Hanuman of his powers, suddenly Hanuman, he regained all his powers, right? And this is such a beautiful episode. The Acharyas, they explain how Jambavan, physically not capable, he had the most important role to play in this episode, right? So that is a role that the elders, the retired citizens in the society need to play. They may lack physical strength, but they have the maturity of experience. So that way, every varna, every ashrama has a role to play in the collective upliftment of the society, right? So Jambavan may not have, the physical strength, but he played the most crucial role of being the mentor for Hanuman, right? And this is also very powerful role. Sometimes, because if you see, Jambavan was a hero in the previous Yuga, because Vamana, he appeared in the previous Yuga, right? And sometimes, especially if you see in the political circles, in the media circles, in the movie circles, some people just don't want to retire. They want to go on and on and on and on, right? Especially in fact, one current president is trying to even tweak their country's constitution so that they can continue being a president for one more term, right? So some people just don't want to retire. But there's a very egoistic kind of rendering service. Because a devotee, one who's devotional at heart, they understand that when the time to pass on the baton comes, they very easily take the back seat. Right? The proof of that, the same Hanuman in Ramayana takes a very insignificant role in Mahabharata. In Treta Yuga, Hanuman was the hero of Ramayana. But that same Hanuman becomes an insignificant flag, an emblem on Arjuna's chariot, who is the hero of Mahabharata. And he promises that I'm not going to fight, but the only support I will give is, oh Bhima, whenever you are screaming, I will add my voice to your voice and we will shake the hearts of the enemies. That's the only contribution he did. Basically, Hanuman was reduced to one big loudspeaker. That's all. Right? But Hanuman understood, my time was in serving Lord Ram in the previous Yuga. I don't have to wear the hero's badge all the time. When the time to pass on that badge to somebody else comes, a pure devotee, they are they're willing to retire. Why? Because service to the Lord is in the foreground. They are in the background. Usually it's the other way, right? We like to be in the foreground and the purpose and the service is always in the background. This is the egoistic mentality of the conditioned soul. So Hanumanji now, as soon as he receives this motivation from Jambavan, he immediately gets up and saying, yes, I have the power, right? And suddenly he expands into the big gigantic form and he says, I'm going to I'm going to literally uproot the whole of Lanka and bring it here. And if you see that section of Ramayana, like he says, I am able to go around Mount Meru 1,000 times without pausing, and by splashing even a drop of water. I can inundate the entire world. I can circumambulate Garuda 1,000 times as he flies in the sky. I can uproot the entire city of Lanka and carry it to a great distance if I desire. If you hear these statements, it sounds very boastful. And on the other side, we read, oh, devotee should be humble. Pride is a big anartha. And here, what is Hanuman doing? Right? So this is a very important point to understand, that how an anartha is an anartha when ego is involved. All this, desire, anger, pride, envy, illusion, all these vices, so-called vices, or these so-called toxic emotions, they are toxic only when they are imbued with your false ego. But when the same emotions are applied in service of the Lord, they become beautiful medals of honor. This is not Hanuman boasting about his prowess, but Hanuman showcasing, look, how powerful is Lord Ram, he has servants like me. Right? And this mood of Hanuman will be very clear later on when he goes to Lanka and when he's talking to Sita. At one point, Sita is bewildered by Hanuman and says, my God, my husband is supposed to come and save me and is coming with monkeys like you. I'm paraphrasing it. She didn't put it literally like that. Right? But then Hanumanji says, oh no, I am the most insignificant person in Lord Ram's army. And then he starts glorifying all the other. Actually, there is no warrior more powerful than Hanuman. But that mood of humility, when Lord Ram needs to be glorified, I will glorify myself. or I will put myself in a humble position. So Hanuman clearly had that service attitude in his foreground. Therefore, that's why even in our life also, if our acharyas explain that if you want to develop greed for hearing Krishna's pastimes. If you want to become angry at materialism. If you want to develop desire for Lord's service and the association of devotees. So all these anarthas, you can actually utilize them in Krishna's service and in your spiritual growth. Right? The moment they are centered around your enjoyment, that is when they become a problem. Right? That is why it is a very important point, because many times as practicing devotees, as seekers, we look down upon these negative emotions and we start artificially repressing them within our heart. Right? See, an emotion is also an energy, and energy cannot be suppressed. It creates a negative effect in the body and the mind. The only way you can deal with energy is by channelizing it in the right direction. So whenever such emotions come, right, you have to deal with them by attaching them with a higher purpose. And that's how you'll be able to channelize it in your spiritual advancement and in service of the Lord. Right? That is why, many times the Vaishnava Acharyas, they explain that a materialist is better than a so-called person who has completely become falsely detached from this world. Right? The moment you deny all these emotions and very artificially detach from this world, you have made your heart completely hard. Right? That is why in the Vaishnava traditions, the Mayavad philosophy, the Bauddha philosophy, the voidism and impersonal philosophies, they are seen as very, very dangerous to the soul, because a materialist already has a lot of attachment. So they just need to change the object of attachment from their ego to the Lord. So it's a very easy transition. But for the so-called impersonalists, they have no emotions in their heart. So first you have to create the emotions, then channelize that emotions towards it. So it's like double effort needed. Right? So this whole episode of Hanuman boasting about himself actually is to be seen that Hanuman is boasting about how glorious Lord Ram's servants are, like me, like that. So then Hanumanji, now as soon as this ocean comes, again, very powerful lesson here, that Hanumanji, it is described that when he jumps across the ocean with all that enthusiasm, his enthusiasm is coming from the spirit of service. Not that, oh, I am going to be the hero. Right? The same Hanuman, in fact, one Vaishnavacharya in the Sri Vaishnava tradition, he explains that why Hanumanji was so quiet earlier when, when Sugriva, when Jambava and Angad, they're all discussing, because it is said that Hanumanji within his heart, he was thinking, the distance the arrow covers is not dependent on the arrow, but the person who's shooting the arrow. So I am the arrow and Lord Ram is the bowman. He is the archer. So why should I boast my glories? My power is coming from Lord Ram. So let him use me the way he wants me to be used. So with that humility, right, Hanumanji, he jumps across the ocean, right? And that's where, and this beautiful description how he, as that, because he needs to take a big pressure and he jumps off, right? So because of that, lot of backward thrust was created. The entire mountain on which he was, Mahendra Parvat, the name of that mountain, it got squished. And so many poisonous snakes and all these, the entities, they came out, right? And as he jumped, the kind of a suction force that it created, all the clouds got sucked towards him. And very beautiful description Valmiki Muni gives, that suddenly all the clouds covered Hanuman, and Hanuman piercing those clouds, he came out like the beautiful moon. Sometimes behind the cloud, the moon gets hidden. And then as the clouds move, the moon comes out shining. Like that beautiful sight, he talks about it. And then as Hanumanji is going ahead at a very, very fast pace, suddenly in the middle of the ocean, one very special mountain named Mainaka Parvat or Mainaka mountain, it suddenly comes up. Now, Mainaka has a very interesting history. That traditional, it is described that previously mountains could move. Literally, the Vedic understanding is that how they had wings and they could fly. Now, whether mountains can fly or not, we cannot exactly prove it today. But if you understand the geography of the planet Earth, the tectonic plates are always in a constant movement. Right? If you see from the Gondwana land, that whole, when all the continents were in one big gigantic mass, to the way the whole continent is drift apart, right? Along the continent, even the mountains were moving, right? So, but then he says that this particular episode says that at one point, these mountains, these moving mountains, they used to land on any random place, and so many rishis started complaining, sages started complaining that, you know, they are destroying our ashrams. So they complained to Indra, and Indra removes their capacities. The exact literal description given is Indra, using his weapon, the lightning weapon, he cuts the wings of all the mountains. So since that point on, all the mountains got settled at one point, right? But however, this Mainaka, he takes shelter of the ocean, and the ocean also has a connection to Lord Ram's dynasty, Sagara Rishi and king. So ocean was thinking, oh, you know, maybe I can, Hanuman is going in service of Lord Ram, so maybe I should also assist Hanuman in some way. So what he does is, because, oh Mainaka mountain, because I gave shelter, I protected you in the past and gave you shelter in my water bodies, now I request you, come out and become like a temporary shelter, because, you know, it's a long travel from Rameshwaram all the way to Lanka. Why don't you give like a little, like a resting place for Hanumanji to rest? So immediately this Mainaka Parvat comes out of the mountain. It is said that Hanumanji was going at such a fast, like a jet rocket is going at such a fast pace, that his chest hit the mountain and it smashed the mountain. Nothing happened to Hanuman. So immediately Hanumanji is asking, hey, who are you? Where did you come from? So he says that, you know, oh, please forgive me. Actually, you know, I wanted to offer you some rest. It's a long story. We just cutting short some details, but the important lesson, he says that Hanumanji, he is thinking in his head, I am in the mission of Lord Ram. I have no time to waste, because already Lord Ram, for 4 months of the rainy season, nothing happened. And then for 1 month, we were traveling. And now we still don't have any concrete news about Sita Devi, right? If I don't get the news, Lord Ram, every moment of separation from Sita is increasing his agony. How can I afford to take rest? With that intention, but then, you know, when somebody offers you hospitality, it is not courteous to reject somebody's hospitality. So what Hanumanji does, very gently, respectfully, with both his palms, he touches that mountain, places it on his head and says, I have taken rest. Thank you. And continues. Right? So the Vaishnavacharyas very beautifully they describe, this is the sense of urgency a devotee should have in serving Lord Ram, in serving the Lord. Many times we are like, oh, okay, there's a whole lifetime ahead, right? It's okay. This 1 year I can take it easy. Oh, this 1 month I can take it easy. Oh, this 1 day I can take it easy, right? But in the journey of self-realization, there should be a sense of urgency. Like how Hanuman here is showing that there is no urgency. And, you know, very interesting. Hanumanji, he says, now I'm in an urgent service to Lord Ram, but when I come back, I will take rest on you. Right? Now, this is also very expert diplomacy Hanumanji employs here. And this is also a very powerful lesson as seekers. Sometimes we may, certain temptations may come, certain distractions may come in our spiritual journey. The way to deal with the mind is to not just say no. If you say no to the mind will fight back with greater venom. The way to control the mind is to give it a delay. Right? Like you are doing something and suddenly your mind will tell you, go to the refrigerator and eat that cake which is there in the refrigerator. Right? The class recording you can always hear, but now go to the refrigerator. So very gently tell your mind, it's okay, the cake is not going anywhere. We can go after the class. Right? So when you tell that, it's because many times how these urges, they haunt us, they come like these little spikes. If you can just survive the duration of that spike, after that it becomes a non-issue. The problem is when that spike comes, we lose complete control over ourselves. So best is to, rather than fighting the spike, just defer the spike. Tell your mind, yes, we are going to do, we'll eat the cake later, but just after some time. Let's finish this work, right? So this is how, this is a very powerful way of dealing with the mind. That if you keep saying no to the mind will break down. So just keep telling because we are very good at procrastinating things, we should channelize our power of procrastination by using it on the mind. Tell your mind, yeah, we'll do it later, right? So that way you will see such power, and slowly, today you say you delay it, the spike will slowly reduce tomorrow and reduce, and slowly we'll gain control over our cravings. So like that. So then as Hanumanji moves ahead, then suddenly, because he was such a big sized personality and he was moving. So at one point, a demoness named Surasa, she comes. And this demoness, she was specially blessed by Brahmaji that nobody can escape her mouth. As in, because when she would open her mouth, all the entities would just go in and she would just swallow them. She was blessed by Brahmaji that, nobody can escape. Anybody who comes here has to enter into her mouth. That's the blessing she gets. So immediately she stops Hanuman, saying, oh, I haven't eaten for a very long time. Come here. Finally, I got some food. Enter into my mouth. This is a rule. Nobody can pass this ocean. Right? Hanumanji looks at her in a challenging way and says, oh, really? Okay, I will enter your mouth. And suddenly, Hanumanji, by mystic powers, he expands his size. But this demoness was also not an ordinary demon. She was also a mystical demon. She expands the size of her mouth. Then Hanumanji becomes double that. The demoness also becomes bigger. Hanumanji becomes even bigger. It is described that at one point, Hanumanji, he became 100 yojanas wide. 100 yojanas is like, 1 yojana is around 8 miles. He literally was touching the sky. And the demoness also had that big gigantic power, and her mouth became like this big cave. From touching from the ocean to the sky, that is how gigantic her mouth became. And Acharyas give a beautiful lesson here that sometimes when challenges come, we need to rise up to the occasion. We need to up our game, right? And if the problem is bigger, we also need to expand. We need to also up our standards, up our game. But then maturity lies in knowing when to stop this upping of our game. If you keep upping and upping and up, if you keep expanding and expanding, at one point you will be burnt out. So Hanumanji at that point realized this is a never-ending ego clash here. And when ego comes, as soon as you sense ego, immediately you should invoke humility. So what Hanumanji now does, while they were expanding in size, suddenly at one point Hanumanji becomes so tiny, almost like a little fruit fly, enters into her mouth, comes out and says, I have honored your request. You said nobody can escape without entering your mouth. I entered your mouth and came out. Now please let me go in service of Lord Ram. And seeing Hanuman's humility and intelligence, the demoness, she says, actually I'm not a demon. I was sent here by the Devatas to test if you are the right person. And now I'm convinced you are the right person to fulfill Lord Ram's mission. And she blesses him that you will be successful in your mission to Lanka, right? So this is, also another important lesson. So if you see, the first challenge was a relatively more sattvic challenge. Now here, when ego comes in, right, it becomes a little rajasic, right? So Hanumanji, he's beyond the three gunas. So he has mastered sattva in the form of Mainaka mountain. He has mastered rajas in the form of Surasa. But the third guna is perhaps the most deadliest one, tamogun, right? And as Hanumanji is flying across, one demoness named Simhika comes. She was also residing in the water, and she had a very special mystical power where she could grab the shadow of anyone and immobilize them. And as Hanumanji was flying in the air, it is described that he was so gigantic, and as the sun rays were falling on Hanuman, there was a huge shadow of Hanumanji on the ocean. And Simhika suddenly grabs, imagine there's a jet plane going in at Mach 3, Mach 4 speed, and suddenly it stopped. And Hanumanji got shocked. Hey, what is happening? I'm not able to move, right? And he realizes that this demon, Simhika, is grabbing my shadow and pulling me down. He tries expanding his size, but then he sees it's not going to work here. He becomes tiny again, enters into the body of the Simhika. Something similar to what he did last time, but also very different. He literally enters into her body, expands and destroys this demoness and moves on in his journey. So Vaishnavacharyas, they explain that what is this demoness Simhika? What does she represent? It is said the shadows are like the past baggages that in our life. And many times in our spiritual journey, our past holds us back and pulls us down and slows down our journey, right? When you're dealing with such tamas coming from the past, the only solution, procrastination and delaying is not going to work. Humility is not going to work. You have to take some positive corrective action and destroy the influences of the past. So the shadows of the past are something that you have to immediately destroy, right? And that's where a lot of self-honesty, introspection, all these tools come in learning to deal with our conditioned past. So then as Hanumanji also, he goes past Simhika, and finally he reaches the banks of Lanka. So there was this mountain, Lanka itself, the tallest mountain there, one Trikuta mountain was there. So he resided there. He stopped there, and immediately so that he's not noticeable, he becomes very, very tiny, and he starts entering into the kingdom of Lanka. Immediately, another guardian, a demoness guardian, right, stops Hanumanji, right? And she immediately challenges him. Hey, nobody can go here without my permission, without fighting with me. Okay, Hanumanji very politely says, I don't want to fight with you. I just came to check out Lanka. Says, no, Lanka is only for the demons, the Rakshasas. You are after all a monkey. You have no right to enter into this place. And I am Lankini. I am the guardian of this whole Lanka city. And as soon as Hanumanji is challenged, Hanumanji, who's very, very strong, he gives one big tight slap to Lankini. And Hanumanji, seeing that she's a woman and out of respect for her, he very mildly hits her, but that mild hit of Hanumanji was so strong, it is said that she falls back and her head starts reeling. And immediately Lankini remembers, oh, I remember once Lord Brahma telling me, I will be a very, very powerful demon, but one day a monkey will come and slap you and you will lose your consciousness. That is the day Lanka's downfall begins. I think that day has come. And very humbly she moves aside and allows Hanumanji to go. So Hanumanji, he transforms into a tiny cat. And he says he starts going inside Lanka. And, very expert strategy, Hanumanji, because, sometimes you may have enthusiasm to serve, but you also need the right intelligence to channelize that enthusiasm, right? So while his mission was to find Sita and report back, he also knew that there may be a possibility of a war. Let me check out how expertly Lanka is organized, how the military defenses are. So he did an entire surveillance of Lanka's military capacities. He notices, oh my God, there's such a power. First, you have a big, gigantic ocean. Then there's a big forest. Then finally, there's a big, impenetrable wall and a whole fortress here. It's almost next to impossible to, and he assesses, okay, how much army they have, what all the weapons they have, where the military is placed. He does like a full, secret, today we use satellite surveillance and all. This is now a very personal form of surveillance. Hanumanji goes, he does all that. And then he starts his mission to search, and he is amazed by the beauty of Lanka. He says that everything is so magnificent. For a moment, he's thinking, my God, am I on planet Earth, or is it the heavenly planet? The beauty here is extraordinary. And interestingly, which many of us will resonate, because the entire wealth of Lanka is not something that Ravana earned, but he stole. That when the Trikuta mountain, which is part of Mount Meru, when it fell off, that little part of the Mount Meru, when it fell off into the ocean, it was given to the Devatas, and they pass it on to Kubera. Kubera was the lord of wealth. And he gives it, actually first he's given to Vishrava, and he had his son Kubera, he given to Kubera. But somehow Ravana was a stepbrother of Kubera. He defeats him, throws him out of his own home, his own kingdom, and now conquers this whole golden city of Lanka. Right? And everything in Lanka, the entire beauty of Lanka, is stolen property. So once Srila Prabhupada went to, when he was in London, he went to the British Museum. And he said, they should change this name of the British Museum to, property stolen by the British. Because they went to different parts of the world and stole, right? Many, like the Kohinoor is there, a lot of Indian, like Shivaji Maharaj's sword is there. So many things that they found in India, in all parts of the world, they put it there in one place. So Lanka is something like that. Everything that is, all the opulence in Lanka is stolen. Nothing that Ravana rightfully earned. In fact, his own concerts, his own wives were all stolen. Any woman he would like, because Ravana also, the Acharyas describe, he represents the anartha of lust. And when lust is empowered, how it can create havoc, right? And Ravana said that he kidnapped so many princesses, queens all over the planet, right? And he kept them captive. And of course, while he kidnapped them and made them hopeless and desperate, at some point they submitted to Ravana. So Ravana had so many queens in his palace. And as Hanumanji was doing his surveillance, at one point, Hanumanji, he sees all the homes. People are now slowly, he thought night time is a good time to survey. So he waits for a long time. When the night falls, he starts looking around the whole palace. He's seeing the opulence, he's seeing the different, houses. And then as he enters into Ravana's fort, it is said that Ravana's personal chamber alone was 8 miles by 4 miles wide. Not the palace, his personal chamber was 8 miles by 4 miles wide. That is how gigantic his whole, it's not room, but you can call it his area, his personal area, his private area in the palace. Can you imagine how big the palace must be if his section is just 8 miles by 4 miles? And he goes there and he notices that there are so many beautiful women there. And because it was night time and, they were all in their night attire, and some of them were even not very well properly clothed. And he was searching for all these women. In the process, he was looking at all these women. And for a moment, Hanumanji gets a doubt. And Hanumanji was a celibate. He was a brahmachari. And he was thinking, hey, I am supposed to be a brahmachari. And here I am looking at all these women and who are not in a properly clothed condition. Is it right? And then immediately he tells, the understanding comes to him that I didn't come here to check out these women. I came here in the mission of Lord Ram and I'm searching for Sita. And because his consciousness was looking for Sita, and he was remembering the pain of separation that Lord Ram was going through Sita, not an iota of lust came in Hanumanji's mind. He was constantly looking, could this be Sita? Could this be Sita? But then he thought, no, this cannot be Sita. Sita would be crying. Why would she be sleeping peacefully here? Right? And then finally, after long, he enters deep and he sees Ravan himself lying down on this beautiful crystal bed, apparently. Right? We heard of golden bed and, silver bed, but crystal bed, unheard of. Right? And then right next to Ravana on a very, very special bed, he saw a very beautiful angelic lady, very peacefully sleeping there. And for a moment he thought, is this Sita? Because remember, Hanumanji never met Sita. Could this be Sita? But then he said, no, this cannot be Sita. Because Sita Devi would be crying in separation from Hanuman, from Lord Ram. This cannot be Sita. Then lot of negative thoughts start coming in Hanuman's mind. Oh, I searched entire the palace, but I couldn't find Sita anywhere. Did she accidentally jump from, when Ravana was kidnapping Sita, he took in a very special flying chariot. Did she accidentally jump and did she die? Did she fall in the ocean? Or did Ravana already kill her? Or there are so many Ravana's associates, these different Rakshasis, different demonesses who are here. Did they already harm Mother Sita? And Hanumanji he became so depressed. He thought, oh my God, if I go back and tell Lord Ram that Sita is already dead, Ram will commit suicide. If Ram commits suicide, Lakshman will commit suicide. When this news will go to Ayodhya, Bharat and Shatrugna will commit suicide. And when they both will commit suicide, all the three mothers, they will commit suicide. When all of them commit, all the residents of Ayodhya will commit suicide. So if I go back and tell this news to Lord Ram, I will be destroying a whole civilization. Better I commit suicide. Or let me just renounce this world and go away somewhere. To that level. But then suddenly he recomposed himself. No. This is how sometimes when success does not come immediately, lot of negativity will immediately creep in. Right? But then you have to remind yourself of the purpose and put faith in the higher energies in our life. And Hanumanji recomposed himself and then he goes to a tall wall and there he notices a beautiful garden known as Ashoka garden, Ashokavan. And in that garden, there was a 1,000-pillared temple. In that temple, he notices a lady who's very emaciated, wearing just one old ragged cloth, yellow-colored cloth. But there was some radiance in her face. Even though she was tired and emaciated and sad and her eyes were swelled up due to tears, there was some radiance in her face. So Hanumanji feels, oh, I think this is Sita. Let me wait. And he waits all night. Next morning, Ravana goes there to threaten her again. Hey, did you change your mind? Because Ravana, at one point, he also got a curse that you cannot force yourself on any woman. If you do that, if you violate the chastity of any woman, you'll be immediately burned to ashes. So he could not, force upon Sita. Therefore, but then Sita was persistent, saying, no, my Lord Ram will come and protect me. So she never agreed to his advances. No matter what temptations he gave her, she never agreed. So Hanumanji now got confirmed, oh, this is Sita. Now I can approach her. But now, see again, how enthusiasm and intelligence are so important. Now he found Sita. Can you imagine? You went to search for someone and after great ordeal, you finally found that person. What will you do? Immediately jump. But then Hanuman restrained his over-enthusiasm and asked himself the question, if I suddenly jump there in front of Mother Sita, she will get scared and she will scream. If she screams, the guards will immediately come. Then my mission will be failure. I should secretly go there. But when I go there, how should I approach her? If I start talking in Sanskrit, which is the language Hanuman was expert at, she will think I am another demon who has come in disguise. She will not trust me. Or if I behave like a Brahmana and go there, because Ravana was also Brahman, at least by birth. So he thinks maybe she will think I am Ravana and I came disguised like this, right? So what should I do? So then Hanumanji comes with a brilliant idea. He becomes very, very tiny, goes on top of a tree and starts singing praise of Lord Ram. And for the first time ever in so many months, Sita Devi hears Lord Ram's name in the entire palace of Lanka. And then she becomes so happy. And there's a beautiful, Ramayana describes this beautiful song that Hanumanji sings, narrating the entire pastimes of Lord Ram. Immediately, Sita first thought, I think I'm starting to hallucinate. I've become crazy now. I haven't eaten properly and, I'm already emaciated. And as soon as she sees this tiny little monkey-like creature singing, I think I'm hallucinating. And then she thinks, oh, perhaps I'm dreaming. And, it is said, it is bad luck to see a monkey in the dream, they say. So thinking, oh no, is something going to happen to Lord Ram and Lakshman? Why am I seeing this monkey in my dream? Right? And then finally, Hanumanji, he makes his way near her and she slowly starts telling, no, actually I'm Hanuman, a messenger of Lord Ram. But then Sita is still suspicious because Hanumanji slowly starts coming near Sita, right? Immediately Sita stops him, says, hey, I think you're Ravana, you have come as disguise. And she immediately sits down disappointed. So seeing Sita's disappointment, Lord Hanumanji describes how he met Lord Ram, starts describing the beauty. Sita ji asks, can you describe Lord Ram? And beautiful description of Lord Ram coming straight from Hanumanji's mouth. He describes Lakshmana and then all the episode, how he met Lord Ram. And finally he says, oh, Mother Sita, Lord Ram is suffering in, every second is like a living hell for him. So please, if you give me permission, because at one point Hanumanji, because he was tiny and he was looking nice and cute, Mother Sita addresses him as my dear child. And Hanumanji becomes very happy. Oh, Sita has accepted me as a child, like she is my mother now. He says, because you accepted me as a child, do not worry, please sit on my back, I will take you. Because, like a chaste woman to sit on somebody else's back, it's not the etiquette. But because you accept me as your child, please sit on my back and go. Let's go away. But then Sita Devi, she says, but she raises a lot of arguments. But what if the Lankan, the people they see, the Rakshasas they see, and now they will start fighting. Now you have to fight back. What if you drop me in the ocean? Then Hanumanji reminds, but oh Mother Sita, you are, it's described that Sita Devi, she is the daughter of ocean. She's a Samudra Sagara Devi, like Lakshmi came from, so this ocean will always protect you. Ocean is like your father, so don't be afraid, right? But then, they have a long, again, so many discussion they have, but finally Sita Devi, she says, see, it is not the right respect for Ram that, in future, the whole history books will say Ravan kidnapped Ram's wife and a monkey rescued his wife. It's a great insult to Ram. So you go back and tell Ram that I'm waiting for him. Let him come and defeat Ravan and win me like a warrior, like a true warrior. Of course, Sita Devi's deeper intention was she saw there were so many other people suffering here in Lanka. If I alone go away, right? This is also the big-heartedness of Sita Devi. She could have escaped. But then she was thinking about all the other suffering souls, that unless Ravan is killed, all the suffering here in Lanka cannot be removed. I cannot be selfish, right? And she had faith in the valor of Lord Ram. So therefore, she sent this message to Hanuman, and then she tells a very special story which only Sita and Ram knew, so that he can narrate this to Lord Ram, so that he's assured that he met the right person, right Sita. So like that. So yeah, so there's so many more details, but the whole speciality of this entire pastime is how one can learn the principle of service attitude from Hanumanji. Hanumanji is such a special. In fact, whenever the dasya bhav, whenever the servitude is the mood of servitude, the devotees in the mood of servitude are spoken of, Hanumanji is always the number one in the list. Right? So this one time later on, after the whole Lanka war was over, one day Hanumanji, he gets to know that Lord Ram has this very special book where he writes the names of all his exalted devotees. So immediately, and that book is kept right next to Lord Ram's bed. So every day, as soon as he wakes up, he sees that. So Hanumanji somehow sneaks into Lord Ram's bedroom and sees, where is this special book? And then he searches his book. He doesn't find his name on the first page, second page, third page, fourth page, 10th page, last page. Nowhere he finds his book, his name, sorry. And then while he is disappointed, he closes the book. As he's about to put it back, Lord Ram comes into the room, catches him red-handed. Says, Hanuman, what are you doing? Then he says, oh, I'm caught now, better admit the truth. He says, I heard that there is this book where all your exalted devotees who are thinking about you constantly, their names are written. So then Hanumanji says, so did you find your name? Lord Ram asks. Hanuman says, no, I didn't find my name. Okay, search your name in this book. And Lord Ram, from his pocket, which is close to his heart, he takes out one book and gives it to him. And the first name he sees there is Hanumanji's name. He says, my Lord, what is this book? So Lord Ram says, while that book is names of those devotees who are always thinking about me, this special tiny book has the names of devotees about whom I am always thinking. So Lord Ram is always thinking about his devotees. The Supreme Lord, just like how the devotees are chanting Lord's names, the Lord is chanting his devotees' names. Right? So this is the specialty, and Hanumanji is that number one devotee who teaches how the only thing that can interest Hanuman is service to Lord Ram. And that is why it is said that wherever Lord Ram's names are chanted, wherever Ramayana is recited, Hanumanji immediately manifests there to hear these pastimes and relish these pastimes like that. So that is a speciality of Hanumanji, and we can learn so much from the life of Hanuman. So with this, we'll end today's discussion, and starting again next week, we will resume with our discussion on the themes from Bhagavatam that we've been having. We'll resume with that series. Our festival series lectures are over for now, and we'll resume with the Bhagavatam series.
Prabhuji, so next week you'll start with Bhagavatam, like Canto 1, chapter, like in the first.
We've been already doing that. So the whole playlist is there in our website, Golden School of Yoga website. So we've already covered till Narad Muni's episode in Canto 1. So yeah, so you can catch up with those, and next week we'll continue taking up certain themes from Bhagavatam in that chronology.
Oh, right.
All right. Okay, so let's end the discussion here. Thank you all so much for joining us today. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.